because I can't.
Mental Health Mondays ignite the spark. Hope guides each step, even in the dark. New week, new dreams to see. Hope's the key to what's meant to be.
Hey, welcome to Mental Health Mondays. My name is Hope. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Today we're going to talk about domestic violence. Oh, let me get started. I'm sorry. I need to back up a step. You're listening to Mental Health Mondays. My name is Hope. This is the PA Empowerment Network. So please go ahead and subscribe and watch all of the other great podcasts that we have here. We're going to try something a little different tonight. That's why we're running into some technical difficulties. Instead of having a guest, I was going to put some things up on the screen. So we're going to see how that works out as we go on. So since we do positive affirmations and I usually have a guest, I guess I'll do it myself. So my positive affirmation is that I am grateful. I am grateful. But I feel like when we say positive affirmations like that, we're still, I feel like positive affirmations should be something sometimes maybe a little more bold. So that's tough, right? Because I put people on the spot when I have them do these positive affirmations. So I am bold. I am energetic. I am emboldened and blazing and fierce and fiery. And I think that's good. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And, we did already have the director of our program here in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where we reside. But of course, there are programs in every community across the state, across the country, around the world. And as you can see, scrolling on the bottom of your screen, we do have the national hotline. It is the crisis hotline for mental health and suicide crisis hotline. And you can always, call that if you're looking for resources for mental health issues. And also 211 should be scrolling across the bottom of the screen. That is something we have as well. It's 211.org, or you can actually call 211. Sometimes when you make the phone call, you have to give your zip code, just letting you know, and then it will reroute you. So it might take a minute. So if you have the ability to go to 211.org, and you would still put in your zip code, but you can pretty much find any community resources that you might be looking for. And I know we're talking domestic violence tonight, but with everything going on in our government the way it is right now, with our government shutdowns and people's benefit programs, social benefit programs being halted, 211 is a great resource in finding the needs, in finding the resources in your community for your needs. I know there's a list of food pantries, and I just saw something, and this is, share this with everyone. And if you're on social media, on Facebook, I hope you are, because you can join Mental Health Mondays with Hope. But you can also repost that Aldi's, the grocery store Aldi's, is promoting a Thanksgiving meal for 10, includes the turkey, everything, for a Thanksgiving meal for 10 people for $40. So that is a pretty good deal, I feel, if that's something that you can use for yourself, or if you are blessed, then you can purchase maybe a meal for another family. Then that would be amazing. So let's go ahead and share that. I'll put that on Mental Health Mondays Facebook page as well. And maybe we can get our engineer Kendall to put that up on the PA Empowerment Network page. So like I said, we are running into a few technical difficulties. Not a big deal. We do have some videos that we want to show you, but I'm going to talk about domestic violence tonight. And I want to talk about teen relationship violence. Excuse me, I'm very dry. I apologize. Whew, not good after you just brushed your teeth. So I pulled up some stats and I just want to share them with you on um, dating violence with our youth, with our teens, teen dating violence. And this is actually from the CDC website of all places. And the Pennsylvania Coalition for Domestic Violence is amazing. It has great resources on there. So, teen dating violence is just called dating violence, is a very adverse childhood experience that affects millions of young people in the United States. Listen, if you have not seen this in your school, in your community, young people watching, parents watching, if young people, if you or your maybe a friend has experienced this, parents, if you've heard your children talking about friends that have experienced this, it's real. It's very real. I coach at the middle school level and also at the high school level. And I have seen this at the middle school level and at the high school level. And it is very disheartening, very concerning that I don't want to say it's acceptable. It's being accepted. I think it's a bit of a blind eye is being turned, or just the fact that people don't recognize that it's a potential that it can be happening. And there is dating violence, relationship violence with teens, with our young people. So that's something that, again, I wanted to talk about. Our domestic violence program here in Monroe County, Safe Monroe, they have a program for the school districts, and my home school district has not allowed them to come in to do this program. So I'm calling you out. I will be attending the next board meeting, and I will be bringing it to the attention of the school board. And it's a great program. The director sent it to me, so I was able to take a look at it. Wonderful, wonderful program. And if our school board, if our administration is not open to that, then you are part of the problem and not part of the solution. And we have to protect our young people. We also have to teach them what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And we have to teach our girls mostly. And I know that's a stereotype because it's, relationship violence does happen in against males as well. But, we have to teach everyone, let's just put it that way, what their boundaries are and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I know of a situation of a young woman who comes from a great family who set, set great examples, great, role models with, examples with what a relationship should look like. And this young person is in a relationship with a young man who is extremely controlling and has taken this young person, this young woman, kind of like away from her family, her life, her friends, what have you, because it's love. And that's not love. And if you have to take your partner away from the people that they care about, that is control. That is not love. That is a situation that is only going to get worse as you go down the road. And we need people to hear this. And we need the schools. I'm sorry. We need the schools because our children spend the majority of their time in school. And so I did a program when I worked at the University of Scranton, an amazing program. And I'm actually looking to revive it. And this was a program for all first year students, college students, a mandatory program. But how it started was a program for high school students, for high school seniors. and it talked about what to expect when you get to college, and how do you socialize in college? I mean, you go into each other's dorm rooms, or it's not like you have like the living room like when you're at home, and you go to parties, and even if you don't drink, you go to parties, gatherings, because that's what you do. So this program taught people how to set their boundaries, um, and to be able to enjoy their college experience in a meaningful way, and to not get hurt in the long run. So I presented this idea to the then superintendent of the school district in which I reside. And the then superintendent told me that it is not the school's responsibility to teach these things to the students. It's only their responsibility to prepare them academically for college, which, in my opinion, they weren't even doing a good job of that. I'm spicy tonight. Because again, because of my contact with young people, with coaching and running a youth program for 25 years, coaching for, youth basketball for 25 years, I get to talk to all these young people when they come back from school. Hey, how was your first semester? Yeah, I was totally unprepared. So we need to do a better job academically, but for a school superintendent to say that it's not the responsibility of the school district to prepare students socially for the college experience, I believe is wrong. For any school district to say that they're going to turn a blind eye by not allowing a program that discusses relationship violence to come into the school to educate young people is wrong. So I will be bringing that up at my school board meeting. And if you are in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, and you want to know if this program is being offered in your school district, just reach out to Safe Monroe and ask them. And if your school district has not accepted this program, then maybe you should go to a school board meeting as well and ask your school board members to give this information to our students. I always say that middle school teachers are the best teachers ever, because when you get to that age, middle school age, hormones are raging. And I don't just mean sexual hormones. I mean just hormones in general. Like everything in your body is changing. And it's a very volatile time for young people at the middle school age. And people have boyfriends and girlfriends, and even if it's just during school hours, but it's not. It's just, like, things have changed a lot since I was young, and we have to progress, um, and things do evolve, and we have to evolve with it. And there could have potentially been domestic violence or relationship violence with students when I was in school, but I was either oblivious or it was not known to me or shown to me. And I probably would have spoken out because that's just the person that I am. But it's happening more often now. I had, a situation that I was involved with as a mentor, where some girls, were kind of caved, I guess, if you want to call it that, to the pleading of a boy that they liked, or not even liked in a relationship kind of way, but you want to fit in. And they went against an entire group of their friends, to give information to these young boys. And that, to me, is a precursor. If the individual does not have the ability to set boundaries, to say, hey, look, no, I can't give you this information, and I'm not going to cave, then that's a precursor to being in a situation that could, lead to being controlled. So let's see. So teen violence is preventable. And, there are lots of resources out there. So physical violence, we all know, is when a person is physically hurt. Sexual violence is, forcing or attempting to force yourself on someone sexually. Psychological aggression. And that is one that we really need to talk about, because when we talk about domestic violence, everyone pictures the woman with the black eye, and covering it up with makeup. And that very well does happen, but there's a lot of psychological abuse. And if that is something that starts out slow and it just progresses over time, it can leave an individual feeling that they have no other recourse, that they're not good enough, that nobody's going to love them, that they can't support themselves. And that is the whole reason behind that sort of psychological aggression. And it's very damaging and very damning of the individual, because it's very difficult to find yourself after that and pull yourself out of it. I know, and you've probably either heard this or maybe you've even said it. I'm not judging. Why didn't she just leave? Why didn't he just leave? And if I was in that situation, I would leave. Remember, it's not our job to judge anyone. And why don't they leave? There are many, many reasons why they don't leave. And if it's psychological abuse or psychological aggression, there's also a monetary control. If you get to a point where if you're in a relationship that is being controlled by your partner, you will eventually stop seeing your family, stop seeing your friends. You're going to be spending all your time together because, he wants to know where you are, or she wants to know where you are. And, well, why do you want to go spend time with your friends? Don't you love me? Things like that. Well, you don't need to work anymore. You need to stay home and take care of me. I will, take care of the bills. I'll give you, money for grocery shopping or what have you. And it's amazing the people that I see that have allowances as adults from their partner, and they have to account for their spending of their grocery money, and have to ask permission to get their nails done. And that's not a healthy relationship. So there are a lot of reasons why the person doesn't leave, and a lot of times it's financial and it's fear. The first 6 months after leaving a violent relationship or an abusive relationship is the most dangerous, because that is when the individual is going to retaliate. And there needs to be a plan in place. If you're a friend and somebody's going through this, just be there. Even if they keep turning away from you, don't shut them out or cut them out. Know that it's a process. Know that individuals who are in an abusive relationship will go back, and they'll go back again, and they'll go back again. He or she's going to change. He or she didn't mean it. I made them angry. And we know if we are healthy in our relationship, we know that that's not healthy, but they don't, and they need us to be there and stay there and be a rock for them when they do eventually reach out to us. I did work for a domestic violence program in a different county, and those are some of the things that we discussed in our sessions with our clients. Was, what's the plan? Do you have a plan? And what is your plan for 6 months? Do you have a friend that you're going to be staying with? Are you relocating out of the area? What about the children? It is a whole big production. So when we say, why didn't she leave or why didn't he leave? It's not just a matter of packing your bags and walking out the door. It's the matter of, are they going to let me out the door? And if I try to leave with my child or my children, are they going to let me take my child? Are they going to physically allow me to take my child? I've heard stories from individuals of getting on a train in the middle of the night, taking the city train up to another part of the city to go to the grandparents' house at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning to escape domestic violence situation. So it's not just the individual who's experienced domestic violence, it is the whole family. But I digress. I'm all over the map with this because there's so much. There's so much with this. So we know that stalking is another form of relationship violence, and that does happen a lot with kids. And now with social media, that's something that that is really more prominent now than it was when I was young, when we were young. So what are we doing now, Kendall? We want to play a video, or do we want to go to commercial? I got my engineer here. We're experimenting tonight. We're trying to we're trying something new here. So right now we're going to go to commercial, and then we're going to come back. So a short video. All right, I think we're going to play a video. How's that sound? Maybe. All right, let's look at some statistics. So this is a data from the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey from 2021, so it's not that old. And it said that that among U.S. high school students who reported dating during the 12 months before the survey, about 1 in 12 experienced physical dating violence, and about 1 in 10 experienced sexual dating violence. That is more than the national average for adults. So this is something that we really do need to take serious. How about we show? Yeah, we're good with a video? All right, let's do it. Maybe. Y'all are so So as some powerful stuff there. Who can I trust? And that is another thing that we run into. Who can we trust? Like, what happens? Like, if we tell our parents, what happens if we tell our friend? Is our friend going to go tell another friend? Is our friend going to go tell their parent, and then their parent is going to tell our parent? There's so much involved in relationship violence that than meets the eye, so much more than meets the eye. And it's something that we really do need to get a handle on by getting these programs into our school district, by getting these programs into our community, by being involved, and by having men be involved. Because, we talk about, boys will be boys, and we talk about the locker room talk. All right. Okay. No, it's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. We need men to say that, because we can say it as women till we're blue in the face, but we're just being an uppity woman. But if a dude says it to another dude, that's ridiculous behavior, or you being a jerk, or whatever, however you're going to say it to them, it takes on more merit. So we need guys. We need guys to speak out against domestic violence. So let's see. So looking at these statistics from the CDC, it does say that females are at greater risk than males for having experienced higher rates of physical and sexual dating violence. And students identifying as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, LGBTQ, or those who are unsure of their gender identity experienced higher rates of physical and sexual dating violence than heterosexual students. Let me say that again. Students identifying as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, LGBTQ, or those who are unsure of their gender identity experienced higher rates of physical and sexual dating violence than heterosexual students. This is from the CDC. This isn't from Fox News. It's not from CNN. I mean, whichever news you follow that's, skewed to one side. This is from the Center of Disease Control. And, again, I'm here by myself tonight. So I'm just putting it all out there. We're in a situation right now where programs are being cut for our LGBTQ community. And right here, our own Center for Disease Control is telling us that young people who are not heterosexual are more likely to be involved in relationship violence. And and I can't tell you a reason. I mean, there's a lot of anger out there, and if you're not accepted, I know that I just had a recent situation where someone that I care very deeply for thought that they trusted me with something. They thought I broke that trust, and I kind of did, but not the way they thought. I was asking a bunch of questions about something, and it was misunderstood. So we figured that all out. But the fact is, when that person felt backed into a corner and felt that they gave me their trust and I broke it, there was a bit of anger. I mean, not anything violent or anything like that, but they were upset. So if you are not heterosexual and you are constantly looking over your shoulder and constantly thinking, what is society thinking of me? I could see where, anxiety levels could be a little bit higher in those individuals. So unhealthy, abusive, or violent relationships, they can have, lasting negative effects. Young people, I'm just talking young people right now. And obviously, it is the same for adults, but I'm just talking the statistics for teenagers. And this is high school age. So this isn't even middle school. So unhealthy relationships, it can have lifelong effects. And think about it. You're still developing as a teen. You're still developing your boundaries. You're still developing your worth. You're still, developing your identity. So if you are in a situation where your identity is being shaped by someone else having control over you, it's not very healthy. And, some of the things that teens who have experienced relationship violence are prone to is experiencing depression and anxiety symptoms more so than individuals in healthy relationships. Engage in unhealthy behaviors, drugs, tobacco, alcohol, what have you. Exhibit antisocial behaviors like lying, theft, bullying, or hitting. See, y'all thought you knew what antisocial meant, right? That's asocial. This is antisocial. And thinking about suicide, thoughts about suicide. Sometimes I remember talking to an individual that said that the only way they were going to get out of their relationship is if their partner died. And I don't mean that they said they were going to kill that person. That is not what was said at all was that this person was literally waiting. This person stated that the partner was an unhealthy person, and this individual was literally waiting for the partner to die to be free. That is not a way to live. That is not a way to live. It's just heartbreaking. And again, what do? We be supportive, right? We can't turn our back. We can't say, "Oh, come on, you can do this. Put your money where your mouth is." If you're going to say that, then be there, be a support system, and help them with an escape plan and help them maintain that. So prevention, supporting healthy relationships could reduce teen dating violence and prevent its harmful, long-lasting effects on individuals, their families, and their communities. Again, supporting healthy relationships. Well, how do we do that? Well, obviously, hopefully we're in a family situation where we have healthy relationships to emulate. And that's not always the case. And I'm not saying that people who came from unhealthy family relationships are going to have unhealthy relationships. Individuals who were abused as children, who turned that around and said, because this happened to me, I am never going to do that to my child. I am going to be the best parent that I could ever be. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And, not everybody can do that, but that is the goal. So prevention is also allowing these educational programs in our schools. Sorry, I keep going back to that. It is extremely important. It is not just the responsibility of the families, because what if the families are the ones that are not setting a healthy example? I'm not, dissing on families. Don't get me wrong. It takes a village. It takes a village, and it's a responsibility for all of us. I coach sports and I coach girls. And one of the reasons that I've always coached girls is because I know what sports did for me, and my self-worth, my self-esteem, who I am as an individual, and how I've been able to conquer things through sports. So I've always coached girls so that I can help them to learn, help them to understand that they have something within them. I call it the beast. We unleash the beast. And because that's theirs, that's them. And that's how they can take control of their lives and create their own identity based on their boundaries and based on healthy boundaries. So, that's one thing that I do in order to help individuals, try to learn how to be who they are and love who they are and be confident in who they are. And that's something that we can all be doing. And that's something that is going to happen in the schools, because again, our kids are there so much of the time. Do we have another video? No? Okay. Darn, I was really wanted to play that one. Well, I had a video, and it's Jennifer Lopez, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but she was abused by her ex, and she learns to be like a real tough boxer chick, and she beats the tar out of him. So, but that doesn't mean that's what everybody should do. But what that was for her was, she gained her self-confidence, and everyone has to go through this their own way. And everyone has the ability to go through a relationship issue and make it out the other side and be in a healthy relationship. And you deserve a healthy relationship. We all deserve healthy relationships. And I know if I'm speaking to anyone out there right now who has been in this situation or is currently in this situation, and you have been told or are being told that no one else will ever love you, that that you're worthless, that you have no value, you do. You have value. We all have value. and your story is yours. And the great thing about stories is that when you get to the end of this chapter, you get to turn the page. And if you're writing your story, then you get to turn the page and you get to decide how to write the next chapter. And I know you can do it. And I know every we can all do it. I'm a product of my father was abusive, and his father was abusive. And it's interesting that and this is not public knowledge, but this is things that have been talked about and are in my book. But my mother, feisty, and she protected my grandmother from my grandfather. My paternal grandparents protected my grandmother from my grandfather when he was abusive to her. And then when my mom got into, the longer relationship with my father, he was abusive. And it was difficult for her to stand up to that with him because, again, all these other factors. She could do it to her father-in-law because, he didn't pay the bills. He didn't, he wasn't the father of the children and what have you. And eventually when my mom is like one of the toughest people I know. And, when she decided that she was done and she was going to get out with all 7 of us. Yes, I'm one of 7. She was scared. And I remember the conversation, and, we traveled, nearly across the country to see a relative that we hadn't seen in decades to try to get a new start. And I remember I was up front, I was co-pilot. And my mom was like this with her hands white knuckling the steering wheel. And she said that my father told her that she was not smart enough to even drive to Allentown. And here we are driving, nearly across the country. And she did it. And she did it and drove back because we decided we didn't want to stay there. But she learned at that moment that she was capable and that she had value. And she has been that role model for all 7 of us. And we're all a bunch of tough cookies. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Please don't let it just be October. It's something that is happening every day. In Pennsylvania. Oh, I lost it. Hold on, let me find it again. This was from 2018, I believe. Let me pull that up. So, 2020, I'm sorry, I apologize. From 2020, this was from the Pennsylvania Domestic Violence, the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And in 2020, there were 109 homicide deaths in Pennsylvania from domestic violence in 2020. And the victims by gender, 50 were male and 59 were female. Okay. Sadly, it was ages 1 through 12 was 1. Ages 13 through 17 was 1. Ages 18 to 64 were 94, and ages 65 plus were 13. So that was in 2020. 1 victim is too many. It's too many. So we can change this by always speaking out, by having the men speak out against domestic violence and for those who have been victimized by this, and to help our friends, and to always be are you going to play it? Oh, is it up on the screen? Yeah. So this is everyone has a limit. The movie was called Enough. So if you want to check that out, I thought it was a great movie. It's very suspenseful, but it's called Enough. and it is a wonderful movie when we're talking about domestic violence. There should not be an empty place at the table because of domestic violence, and that's something that we need to do better as a nation and as individuals. So I think I'm going to sign off for tonight. And we're going to put some things up on my Facebook page. It is Mental Health Mondays with Hope. So if you have not liked that page yet, go ahead and please do that. And if you have not subscribed to the PA Empowerment Network yet, please do that as well. And we're going to see you next Monday. Have a great week.